My name is Sarah. I never thought I'd share this story publicly, but it's been sitting in my chest for years. I want people to know that sometimes the family you're born into isn't really family at all. This is the story of how my parents kicked me out at 18 and how years later the tables completely turned. I grew up in a middle-class home. We weren't rich, but we weren't struggling either. At least, not financially. Emotionally, that's a whole different story. My parents were cold. They believed in tough love. My dad would say things like, "The world doesn't owe you anything. You either make it or you fail." My mom wasn't much better. She never hugged me, never asked me about my day, and the only time I got her attention was when I was By the time I was 16, I already knew. My parents didn't really like me. They tolerated me. The day I turned 18. I remember it like it happened yesterday. It was my birthday. Most kids get cake, maybe a small gift, maybe even a family dinner. Me? I got kicked out. My dad sat me down in the living room. My mom was standing with her arms crossed. He said, "You're 18 now. You're an adult. This house isn't a hotel. You need to figure life out on your own." I thought he was joking. I laughed nervously. But then my mom slid an old duffel bag across the floor and said, "Pack your stuff. You're leaving today." No warning, no savings, no plan, just gone. I begged them. "Please, just let me stay until I graduate high school. I'll get a job, I'll pay rent, I'll help around the house." But my dad shook his head. "You're on your own now." Starting from nothing. That night, I slept on a park bench. It was freezing. I had $23 in my wallet, a half-dead phone, and nowhere to go. For the next year, I couch surfed. Sometimes friends let me stay for a week, sometimes a few days. Other times, I slept at bus stations or libraries that stayed open late. I worked at a diner washing dishes, then at a gas station doing overnight shifts. It was brutal. I barely made enough for food, let alone rent. There were nights I cried myself to sleep, wondering if maybe my parents were right. Maybe I really wasn't good enough to deserve love, comfort, or even a roof over my head. The turning point. One day, a customer at the diner noticed me. She was an older woman, maybe in her 50s, kind eyes, always tipped generously. She asked me why I looked so tired all the time. I broke down and told her everything. To my surprise, she didn't judge me. She offered me a small spare room in her house for free, on one condition. "Promise me you'll go back to school. You're too smart to waste your life scrubbing plates." I'll never forget that moment. For the first time in years, someone believed in me. Rebuilding my life, I enrolled in community college. I worked part-time, studied hard, and slowly rebuilt my life. It wasn't easy. I failed classes, broke down from exhaustion, and dealt with depression. But little by little, I climbed up. By 24, I graduated with a degree in computer science. By 27, I had a stable job at a tech company, making more money than I ever dreamed of as that homeless teenager. And by 30, I bought my first house. The unexpected knock one. Sunday morning, I heard a knock on my front door. When I opened it, my jaw dropped. It was my parents. But they weren't the same. My dad looked thinner, older, almost fragile. My mom's face had lost all its sharpness. She looked defeated. They told me they had lost everything. My dad had made bad financial decisions. My mom had health problems. They couldn't afford their mortgage. They had nowhere else to go. And now, they were standing on my doorstep. The confrontation. My mom started crying. "Sarah, please, you have such a nice house. We have nowhere to go. Let us stay here just for a little while." My dad stayed quiet, but I could see it in his eyes. He hated asking me. He hated that the daughter he kicked out was now his only hope. I stood there frozen. A million memories flashed through my mind. The night I was kicked out, the park bench, the hunger, the cold, the tears. Finally, I said, "You kicked me out when I had nowhere to go. You thought I wasn't your responsibility anymore. And now you want me to take care of you?" My mom sobbed harder. My dad looked at the ground. And here's what I told them. I'm not heartless. I won't let you starve. But you can't stay here. I'll pay for a motel for the next 2 weeks. After that, you're on your own. The aftermath. They were stunned. My dad tried to argue, but I closed the door. For the first time in my life, I had the power. I wasn't that scared, broken 18-year-old anymore. I was someone who built a life from nothing. And while I didn't completely abandon them, I also didn't let them back into my life to ruin it again. So that's my story. My parents kicked me out at 18, but years later they came crawling back to me. And the truth is, I don't regret my choice, because sometimes blood isn't thicker than water.